Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. And hey, a special welcome if you're joining us from the Volture Podcast on YouTube.
Great to be here.
If you find this kind of discussion interesting, definitely think about subscribing to the Volture Podcast channel. They do a lot more in-depth analyses, just like this one.
Absolutely. And today, we're tackling a big one. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. It's a book that certainly gets people talking. We've got summaries, critiques, quite a mix of material.
That's right. It's this collection of, 48 laws about how power works, how to get it, how to keep it.
Yeah, and Greene pulls examples from, 3,000 years of history. Thinkers like Machiavelli, Sun Tzu, historical figures. It's quite the sweep.
And the core theme is obviously power, influence, how it shapes everything.
It really is. But it's not just about, kings and generals. It digs into social dynamics, office politics, even just how people interact day to day.
Which, naturally, brings us to the controversial part. A lot of people look at this book and see it as, a manual for being manipulative, maybe even deceptive.
Oh, definitely. Words like ruthless and amoral get thrown around a lot. And look, some of the laws, if you take them literally, they do seem pretty cold-blooded. But there's another side to it, isn't there? Some argue it's just describing how things are.
Yeah.
Understanding human nature, the dynamics at play, even if you don't plan on, crushing your enemies totally.
Right. Like the Reddit summary mentioned, maybe it's valuable just for recognizing these tactics when others use them. Defensive knowledge, almost.
Exactly. So that's kind of our mission today, isn't it? To unpack these core ideas, look at the debates around the ethics, and think about how relevant this stuff is today. Especially, with everything being so public online now.
Okay, so let's get into it. Those core concepts. The summaries group the laws into themes, which I found helpful. What stood out to you there?
Yeah, the thematic grouping helps a lot. Instead of just 48 rules, thinking about them in terms of, say, understanding human nature, or the idea that actions speak louder than words, or how self-interest is usually a safe bet. Makes it less overwhelming.
I agree. It connects the dots, like the theme of appearances matter that clearly links Law 5, the one about reputation being everything.
Guard it with your life, yeah.
And Law 6, court attention at all cost, both about managing how you're seen. Why are those so central, do you think?
Well, we're visual creatures, aren't we? We judge based on what we see, on reputation, a good image. It opens doors. And being noticed, you can't have influence if nobody knows who you are. It's about visibility.
Makes sense. And the summaries pulled out specific laws, too. Law 1, never outshine the master. That one screams office politics to me.
Oh, absolutely. The idea is make your superiors feel secure. Don't make them look bad, even accidentally. It's about managing their ego, essentially.
So it's about playing the game within a hierarchy.
Pretty much. Greene suggests it's often safer to let them feel smarter, even if, you aren't. It taps into that potential insecurity people in power might have.
Then there's Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. That one always raises eyebrows.
It really does. It flips the script on loyalty. The argument is, friends can get envious or take you for granted, while a former enemy who comes over to your side might be more loyal because they have something to prove.
It's a cynical view, but maybe there's a kernel of truth there about motivations.
Perhaps. It forces you to think about why people align with you. Is it genuine affection or calculated self-interest? Greene leans towards the latter being more reliable.
Okay, and then Law 3, conceal your intentions, and Law 4, always say less than necessary. These seem linked to control the information.
Definitely. Keep people guessing. Don't reveal your whole plan. And silence, silence can be powerful. It makes you seem more in control, more profound maybe. People project onto silence.
How might someone see that play out, like in a negotiation?
Oh, absolutely. If you lay all your cards on the table immediately, you lose leverage. Being a bit cagey, speaking less, it can make the other side reveal more or underestimate you. It's information warfare on a small scale.
It's interesting how much of this early stuff is about perception management. Don't threaten the boss. Be wary of friends. Watch what you say.
Right. And Law 5, reputation, is the bedrock. Your image is power. Which connects to Law 6, courting attention. You need that image to be seen.
But wait, court attention, but also say less? Aren't those kind of contradictory? The Reddit user pointed that out.
Yes. That's a key point about the whole book, really. It's not a simple checklist. Context is everything.
So you need judgment, discernment.
Exactly. Greene would argue you need to know when to be conspicuous and when to be reserved, when to speak up, when to stay quiet. It depends entirely on the situation and what you're trying to achieve. There's no one-size-fits-all rule.
Okay, that clarifies things. It's about strategic application. What other laws jumped out from the summaries? There was Law 7, getting others to do the work.
Yes, but always take the credit. That one feels particularly ruthless. Efficiency mixed with cultivating a godlike aura, as the summary put it.
And Law 9, win through actions, not arguments. Show, don't just tell.
That one seems more straightforward. Results often speak for themselves, right? Endless debate can be counterproductive.
Then Law 10, avoid the unhappy and unlucky, the whole infection idea, emotional states being contagious.
Yeah, the idea that negativity or bad luck can rub off on you. Stay away from sinking ships or people who constantly drag you down. It's about protecting your own energy and prospects.
It's quite a mix. We see these themes recurring, though. Scarcity in Law 16, using absence to boost respect.
Right, make yourself less available, see more in demand. Value through scarcity.
Unpredictability in Law 17, keeping people off balance.
Cultivating an air of mystery. Yeah, makes you harder to anticipate, harder to counter.
And reinventing yourself in Law 25, forging a new identity.
Being dramatic, capturing attention by not being static. Recreation is a power move.
Even Law 27, creating a cult-like following by playing on people's need to believe.
Offering them a cause, focusing on enthusiasm over rationality. We definitely see parallels there in the modern world, don't we?
For sure. Then there are laws about boldness, like Law 28, timidity is dangerous.
Hesitation can be fatal, essentially. Bold action, even if risky, is often better than inaction.
Law 34 stood out too. Act like a king to be treated like one. That seems to be about self-perception influencing others.
Totally. Projecting confidence and self-respect tends to command respect from others. Your bearing affects how you're treated.
And timing, Law 35. Mastering the art of timing. That feels universally applicable.
Crucial, isn't it? Knowing when to wait, when to strike. Patience followed by decisive action at the right moment. So much depends on that.
It really does. It's like the best plan can fail with bad timing.
Precisely. And knowing when to stop, too. That's Law 47. Don't go past the mark. Know when victory is achieved. Avoid arrogance.
And finally, Law 48. Assume formlessness. Being adaptable, fluid.
Yeah, like water. Don't be predictable. Don't be rigid. Adapt to circumstances. Protect yourself by being hard to pin down. What does that look like practically? Maybe not having a fixed style of operating.
Perhaps. Being flexible in your tactics depending on who you're dealing with, what the situation demands.
Right.
Resisting categorization.
So, okay. We have this wide array of laws, these principles, but now we have to talk about the ethics, the criticisms. That Reddit user voiced concern about becoming a walking red pill meme, basically.
Yeah, applying it too literally and damaging your reputation by just seeming like a manipulator, that's a real risk.
Absolutely. So how did the different sources weigh this? We saw the Delhi Business Review piece framed it quite positively.
Right. They saw it as well-researched, instructive for management, deriving lessons from history, almost like a textbook on power dynamics in organizations.
So a tool for understanding, for navigating corporate life.
Yeah, emphasizing the historical grounding, the strategic insights. But then you have Stefan Jopic,
who calls it overrated. And a treasure map to hell. Quite the contrast.
A stark contrast. What were his main issues? He went law by law, almost.
He really did. He saw the reversal of Law 1, the bit about selectively hastening a superior's downfall, as just cruel. And Laws 2, 3, and 4, the ones about distrusting friends, concealing intentions, saying less, he saw those as basically a blueprint for building toxic, suspicious relationships.
Right. Not exactly healthy.
He was scathing about Law 7, taking credit for others' work. Called it narcissistic, dishonest.
Understandable.
And Law 14, posing his friend as spy. Law 15, crushing enemies totally. He flags those as deeply unethical, manipulative, and ruthless.
Yeah, those are pretty hard to defend from an ethical standpoint. What else?
Law 26, using scapegoats.
Yeah.
Obviously problematic. And Law 27, creating that cult-like following. He called it an immoral manual for manipulating people through emotion and vague promises. He also disliked Law 30, making things look effortless because it ignores the reality of hard work. And Law 33, finding someone's weakness their thumbscrew, he saw that as just explicitly teaching exploitation.
It's a powerful critique. He really lays out the case for the book being morally bankrupt in many ways.
He does, but as he notes, there's that counter-argument. Maybe reading it helps you spot these tactics in others, helps you defend yourself.
So the know thy enemy defense, does that hold water, do you think?
Well, maybe to some extent. Understanding manipulation can make you less susceptible. But the book isn't primarily framed as the defense manual.
No, it feels more like a fence, a how-to guide.
Exactly. And that's where the ethical line gets really blurry. It's one thing to analyze power, another to actively advocate for these often ruthless methods without a strong ethical counterweight.
Which brings us right up to today. How does this apply now? That open culture piece made a really interesting point about social media.
Yeah, that was fascinating. The idea that because we're all kind of public figures online now, these laws suddenly feel eerily relevant to platforms that didn't even exist when Greene wrote it.
How so? Which laws fit particularly well?
Well, court attention at all costs, law 6. I mean, isn't that the engine of social media? Likes, views, going viral?
Absolutely. And cultivate an air of unpredictability, keeping your audience engaged by being surprising.
Right. Play to people's fantasies, law 32. So much online content taps into desires, aspirations, selling a dream.
Create a cult-like following, law 27. You see that with influencers and their dedicated fan bases.
Definitely. Create compelling spectacles, law 37. Using strong visuals, dramatic presentations. That's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Even never appear too perfect.
Yeah.
That curated vulnerability or authenticity we see online sometimes, it feels like a strategy.
It really does. It's like Greene accidentally wrote a playbook for the influencer age. But okay, stepping away from just online stuff, how do these laws show up in, say, the workplace or just regular social interactions?
Well, you could see Law 1 playing out in how someone manages their relationship with their boss, carefully presenting ideas.
Being mindful not to outshine.
Law 2 might make someone think twice about mixing close friendship with high-stakes collaboration.
True. Maybe keeping a bit more professional distance.
Recognizing if someone's being deliberately vague, Law 3, during a negotiation or team project. That awareness could be useful.
It's about reading the subtext. Right. Understanding the underlying power plays that might be happening, even in seemingly normal interactions. Whether it's a meeting, a party, even family dynamics sometimes.
But, and this seems crucial, it always comes back to your own judgment, your own moral compass.
Absolutely essential. Knowing about these laws, recognizing them. That's one thing. Deciding to use them, especially the more manipulative ones, that's a completely different choice.
Awareness doesn't equal endorsement.
Not at all. The book offers insights, a lens, but it doesn't dictate your actions. You still have to decide what's right, what aligns with your values.
So, wrapping this up, what are the main takeaways, the big tensions here?
I think the core tension is between the book's undeniable, often sharp insights into power dynamics, drawing on centuries of human behavior, and the, let's say, ethically questionable nature of much of the advice.
The utility versus the morality.
Exactly. It's a powerful tool for analysis, no doubt. And its relevance today, especially in our hyper-connected, image-conscious world, is striking. But it demands critical thinking. You can't just swallow it whole.
So understanding the laws can be valuable for navigating the world, even if you reject the methods.
I think so. It provides a framework for seeing things you might otherwise miss. Understanding the game, as it were.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for our listeners. We all navigate power dynamics constantly, right? In our jobs, our communities, even our families.
Constantly. It's unavoidable.
So the question becomes, how do you stay aware of these dynamics? How do you understand the game without getting sucked into playing it in ways that compromise your own ethics?
Can you be both savvy and principled? Can you understand manipulation without becoming manipulative? That's the real challenge, isn't it?
It really is. Something to definitely mull over. Thank you for joining us on this Deep Dive.
My pleasure.
And thanks again to everyone listening, especially those from the Volture Podcast on YouTube. We hope you found this useful. And seriously, check out their channel for more analyses like this. Subscribe if you haven't.